Oh, hey, it's you again. Came to talk about games, did you? Sorry, but I'm kind of busy right now, so if you want, you can come back later, and who knows, maybe we can talk about how Counter-Strike reinvented shooters. What am I busy with, you ask? Oh, I'm just playing my other favorite game, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 on the Nintendo Switch. And let me tell you, it gets crazy. Huh? What do you mean, what's Tetris? There is no possible way you don't know what Tetris is. It's not like it's the biggest puzzle game on the planet. I'm so mad. I'm gonna stop playing just to overly explain something so simple just to get it through your thick skull. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like it's a requirement to know what Tetris is or even acknowledge its existence, but when pop culture is so ingrained in our lives as it is now, it becomes very hard to ignore these types of things. But whatever. It's my job to spread this type of knowledge anyway, and boy, am I glad to be given a reason to rant even more than I already have. So, the burning question on everybody's mind is, what is Tetris? In layman's terms, Tetris is a block-based puzzle game. Yeah, not very descriptive, is it? In more sophisticated terms, Tetris is a block-based puzzle game, using blocks known as tetraminos. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's really hard to come up with a more descriptive description of a game that's entirely meant to be a simple puzzle game that anyone can enjoy. But it doesn't have to be very descriptive anyway, because Tetris' job is to be simple enough for people of any amount of brain cells to easily pick up and play with ease, and regardless of your skill group, you can have some fun with Tetris, because it's not like it's a game like Ultra Kill where you have to have some level of skill to get into. But what about Tetris that makes it so accessible to the general public? Are we talking about the same game? What do you mean what makes it so accessible? I mean, just look at it. Okay, maybe I was wrong. Seriously though, it's really simple to the point where my 7-year-old grandmother can get a Tetris with ease. Yeah, that's another feature of this game. Fill a line in a grid horizontally and you'll get a line clear. The more lines you clear, the higher the score, or depending on the game, the more garbage you send to the other player. The highest number of lines you can clear are 4, which is known as a Tetris, and can only be done by using the eyepiece and with other unconventional methods. And no shit, that is literally all you need to know in order to play Tetris. Of course, there's gonna be other mechanics involved depending on the game, but overall, that's the base template of what really makes up a Tetris game. But video game mechanics are boring. Can we just fucking talk about Tetris already? Alright guys, I know this seems like a reach, but I think I've made a breakthrough. This is the next Tetris. So, because Tetris became so widely recognized and popular to the public, it spawned a whole family tree of Tetris games, and a family tree of those Tetris games. And you see where I'm getting at here? Whatever Tetris fetish you have, there's a Tetris game just for you. Got terrible eyesight? Tetris Giant should be easy on the eyes. Believe in astrology? Tetris Effect should satisfy your schizophrenia. Do you have a fear of sequels? Then don't play Tetris 2. For the love of God, not Tetris 2. Although Tetris was fairly simple in concept, people wanted more from it. For no reason. Look how hard Tetris is. You can set pieces down. I mean, come on. Did we really have to witness the birth of Tetris Plus? Spoilers? No! And half of these games have just the slightest bit of changes to the point where it could completely change the way the game is played. And because of that, not every Tetris game is the same. So how the fuck do you fuck up Tetris? To understand this, we need to start from the beginning and look at Tetris' history and how it got spawned into existence. Tetris came out in 1984 by Alexei Pachetnov, who was a software engineer at the Soviet Academy of Sciences. He was tasked with testing a new type of computer named the Electronica 60. So, he wrote a game based on a puzzle game from his childhood to basically find out how powerful the computer was. The name Tetris came about by using the Greek word tetra and Pachetnov's favorite sport, tennis. I mean, my name is the same, spot for spot, and oh wait, I hate sports. The Shaysei stack in Tetris are called tetraminos, which was taken inspiration from another puzzle game known as pentamino, the same game he took inspiration from for the base game of Tetris. To say I knew what this puzzle was before learning about Tetris' existence would be a complete and utter lie. It's a puzzle with shapes, you put them together, and that's it. Who cares? Originally, Pentamino was a game with different shapes that could be made by combining 5 squares, but Pachinov decided to simplify it down to 4 squares, which instead of leaving us with 12 shapes, left us with 7. Pachinov eventually found himself addicted to the prototype version of Tetris because he said, and I quote, "It was very addictive to put the shapes together." Damn it! I thought it was because of the woman I get from playing it! And that's Tetris. For a game like Tetris, a story like this one is pretty unexpected because, to be honest, the story I was thinking of was more along the lines of, guys, here's the plan. Shapes. I have to agree with Pachinov when he says it's pretty addicting to put the shapes together, because even when you have no idea what you're doing, the satisfaction from clearing lines successfully is unlike any other. For the first couple of games. I mean, yeah, it's satisfying to clear a bunch of lines in a row and score some high points, but otherwise, the game fulfills its purpose. This is when they decided, hey, what if we made Tetris not Tetris, but still Tetris? And then Tetris 2 was born. God, do I need to continue? Yeah, I don't know who was begging for a new Tetris, but whoever did probably had a field day with this one. Tetris 2 is kinda like Tetris, except not really. I mean, they have some of the same pieces and they fall from the top of the screen, but then there's some atrocities that should never be in a Tetris game, like this weirdly placed eyepiece and, dear God, falling blocks? I'm sorry, but Tetris should never be mistreated like this. Which is why I'll be looking at the good and bad examples of Tetris games over the years, going back and forth between the good and bad Tetris games. Because honestly, I'm not sure how you can fuck Tetris up. I'm still wondering. So, Tetris, huh? It doesn't get any more classic than the original Tetris, and boy has this game been redistributed a bunch. From the Game Boy to the NES, Tetris is where it all started, and honestly, as ancient as it is, it's hard to really find any issues with it. I mean, it's the first Tetris for God's sake. What were you really expecting out of it? Classic Tetris hasn't changed through its many ports of different consoles, and because it was on the more popular consoles, it was more widely recognized across the globe. Tetris was on one of those old Nokia phones, and hey, that's how I found out about it. Ask me anything. For now, I'll just use the Game Boy version of Tetris since that's as basic can get when looking at classic Tetris. We boot up? Damn it, I thought I inserted Pokemon. I mean, it's Tetris. Use the D-pad to move the Tetramino, press down to make the Tetramino fall quicker, A and B to rotate the Tetramino. Yeah, this is Tetris alright. You basically play Tetris up until you game over or until you turn into skeletal remains. As lame and as boring as it seems, there's something about this version of Tetris that I just adore. I don't know if it's a classic chiptune Tetris theme, which, fun fact, isn't even a Tetris original, or if it's the simplicity of it all that resonates with me, but whatever it is, it makes it really hard to hate this version of Tetris, and it's truly what started a legacy of Tetrises to come.
Wow! Incredible!
So that was Game Boy Tetris, an enormous start to what would soon be one of the most recognized pieces of media in the world. But what if I told you that not everything past Game Boy Tetris was a quote-unquote good Tetris game? Don't believe me? Behold! Sorry, what Tetris is this? Whatever excuse you pull out of your ass, this is just not Tetris. Sure, you can say it's Tetris 2, not Tetris, but when you're carrying a name with as much weight as Tetris, there's an amount of expectation to be had here. And oh man, does Tetris 2 really take that expectation and shove it up its ass. Made in 1993, Tetris 2 on the NES was supposed to be a successor to the already succeeding Tetris, and it tries to achieve more exciting gameplay. I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but I don't think Tetris really needed more exciting gameplay. Sure, Tetris is really simple and can be boring, but spoilers, that's the point. Whatever, who knows, maybe Tetris 2 isn't so bad. Tetris 2, as stated earlier, tries to give a slight spin to the already iconic gameplay of the original Tetris by adding some unique quirks to gameplay mechanics and to the pieces themselves. Stuff like adding bombs to some of the pieces on the field or doing something so despicable as to add falling blocks. Seriously, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? I mean, if you're gonna add a piece with a misplaced block, then I sorta understand, but what if you just didn't? I don't really know much about Tetris 2's development plan, and to be honest, I don't care either. So we're moving on.
Failure.
The golden era of handhelds was definitely one to remember as it really defined what made portable gaming so fantastic. One of the consoles that revolutionized portable gaming was the Nintendo DS, and boy did it have some hard-hitting titles, namely New Super Mario Bros., Sonic Rush, oh my goodness gracious, Sonic Rush, and most importantly, Tetris DS. You gotta be kidding me, I bought this for my PSP! As the name implies, it's Tetris for the Nintendo DS. And if it really just amounted to just that, this wouldn't be on the list of actually good Tetris games. The burning question on everybody's mind is, why is it good? It's not as simple as it seems because there's a lot of things in this game that makes it such a good Tetris game. First of all, this game has unique game modes that are actually sort of fun to play, instead of just being the absolute treachery that is Tetris 2. The game modes consist of several different modes such as push mode, mission mode, catch mode, puzzle mode, etc. And not all of these game modes are for everybody, but there's at least one game mode that someone can enjoy. A cute little thing about this game is the fact that this game had Nintendo IPs like Samus, Mario, Link, and Yoshi because it was developed and published by Nintendo themselves. It's also a neat feature that during the characters' levels in Marathon mode, you can see them roaming around the top screen, and as small of a feature it is, it really shows that Nintendo wanted to make their IPs as visible as possible, as they had the whole game to themselves. But enough about the novelty, what about the mechanics and gameplay? Well, that's a good question, because before Tetris DS's release, Guideline Tetris had already hit the public, and man is Guideline Tetris a mixed bag. To put it briefly, Guideline Tetris is a type of Tetris that the Tetris company enforced for Tetris games that were made after year 2001. It features things like quick dropping by pressing up on the D-pad and stuff like the SRS system, which basically changes the way Tetris pieces move or rotate, allowing for more things like T-spins and not having pieces immediately stick to surfaces the moment they hit them. It's a lot to take in all at once, but if you're just casually playing Tetris, which you most likely are, you aren't gonna notice it too much. The reason I say this is a mixed bag isn't necessarily because I myself disagree with the changes they added. In fact, I think it adds a new flow in the way you play Tetris, and I enjoy it a lot. But the community of Tetris seems a little stubborn about how they feel about the change. Majority of people think it was a cool change that makes Tetris feel more exciting, but then there's the oldies that think classic Tetris was the only good Tetris and Guideline Tetris was a disastrous mistake. First of all, I think it's hilarious that in almost any old game, some retired veterans feel the need to shit on change because their brains have been stuck in the same old for years and couldn't handle their beloved game getting a new audience that is actually beneficial to the game's success. Secondly, if you did a side-by-side comparison of Guideline Tetris and Classic Tetris, which one would you prefer? Oh wait, actually, I won't because it's a no-brainer. Lastly, if you don't like Guideline Tetris and you prefer Classic, that's fine. In fact, Classic Tetris has thrived for a long time and has had a very passionate community that adores the game. But unlike some people, they aren't crybabies about their game changing forever and actually embrace it as a new age of Tetris games. So don't be a bitch about change and think on the bright side because some changes are actually for the better. Keyword some. If a change is actually bad and everyone agrees it's bad, riot. To close up Tetris DS, I thought I'd mention that Tetris DS had local and online, that's right, online multiplayer that allowed for up to 10 players locally and 4 people online. And while the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection service is now discontinued, I thought it was pretty cool that this game had good online and local play while also maintaining a pretty good single player library. And hey, some players still maintain the online play of this game through other means, and I suggest giving it a try if you're interested. While Tetris DS is locked on the DS and no other consoles, I think it's impressive that it has such a good single player library of modes, while also having good multiplayer capabilities, and I think that's what really makes this game one of the best portable Tetris games.
Wow! Incredible!
You know, that begs the question though. What is the worst portable Tetris game?
Whew, I'm glad you fucking asked, because it's time to talk about one of the worst Tetris games I've ever played. Although Tetris Mobile has changed a while ago, that shouldn't distract you from the fact that the elder Tetris Mobile was a completely flawed game, and I'm astonished that some people actually played this. Tetris Mobile has had a lot of different releases over the years, usually because instead of being on a console that has a specific design, phones are evolving year by year, so every now and then, Tetris Mobile will have a new look. But we're talking about this one, this Tetris, and oh boy, do I have something to say about this piece of garbage. Tetris Mobile is as it sounds, Tetris on your mobile device. Mobile gaming had been on the rise at the time, and through EA's eyes, yes EA, it seemed like a no-brainer to put Tetris on mobile devices, because it was so simple that even a baby could play it. It also seemed like a good way to kill time, and foolish me also thought it would be a good idea. And after downloading and playing over the course of a week, I absolutely regretted ever installing the game in the first place. I'm gonna keep it really short, mainly because I don't have footage that I can share that shows some of the things I'm gonna be talking about, but also because I don't want to give this game more credit than it already shouldn't have. First of all, there is a quote-unquote constellation mode, which is basically the main attraction in the game, since it is space-themed and uses that to the best of its ability. Constellation mode is okay, I guess. It's not good or bad, it's just not the worst offender. Then there's power-ups. It wouldn't be a mobile game without some way for me to cheese my way through some of the levels with the catch of having to use currency to acquire it, would it? There's 3 of them, but I can't actually remember what they do. I just specifically remember that one of them had the ability to rain hell on a part of the field and destroy some blocks, and another allowing you to change the tetramino that you're currently using. Power-ups are there just to draw some incentive of using some cash to get a boost, and honestly, compared to other mobile games, it isn't the first offender, and while I don't like the idea of them, it really doesn't hurt me since I'm not going to be buying them anyway, but they are a sore thumb in the UI. Also, apparently it's only usable in some game modes like Constellation mode, so put down your pitchforks for now. Another thing I want to mention is the microtransactions. Again, not the first time a mobile game has done something like this, but I still hate the idea since some of the shit they have on here is so dumb, like paying for fucking music. Sure, you can play and earn coins, but when getting coins is as difficult as finding a normal member of society on 4chan, it's obvious that they're trying to get you to break your wallet on this game. Fine, it's not the worst. Some money for some music, and that's mostly it. But what about the gameplay? The gameplay has to be good. No, it's not. The controls suck. And for a Tetris game, I didn't think it'd be possible. How? How do you fuck up the controls of Tetris? The controls have 2 modes, and you have the choice of either dumb or dumber. You can use tap to place pieces in predetermined places, or you can swipe to move independently by, of course, swiping. It wouldn't be bad if the controls didn't feel like ass. The tap controls are honestly whatever. I just prefer having more control over my pieces, and while as for dumb idiots, and you are one if you use it, it's not the worst. The swipe controls though, oh my god, it's so inconsistent. Swiped up? No you didn't. What are you talking about? Swiped right? You swiped down. What do you mean? I swear, there have been actual moments that I just wanted to break my phone on how much I got fucked over on an insane score because of it. Maybe I just had a bad experience and maybe my phone was just bugging out. But I'm just gonna go on a whim and say that Tetris Mobile is on the lower end of Tetris games because, God, I just don't give enough of a fuck.
Failure.
So that was a small adventure into the realm of Tetris, and while I do love these games and play these games in my spare time because, as Patrick said earlier, it's satisfying to put the pieces together. One more thing that I want to talk about are the Tetris games that I think are good, but I simply haven't talked about due to not wanting this video to be an actual book. Puyo Puyo Tetris is a lot of what makes modern Tetris games good, with the add-on of the Japanese staple puzzle game Puyo Puyo. Puyo Puyo is an entire topic on its own, so I'll give a brief explanation of what it is. You drop Puyos on the field similar to how Tetraminos drop in Tetris, and when four of the same color of Puyo touch, they pop. Set up your Puyos right, and you can land some devastating chains, and man, this game gets really competitive. Puyo Puyo Tetris basically adds both of these games in one, adding some unique game modes and allowing for some interesting Puyo Puyo versus Tetris action. This is a cool idea in concept, but in all honesty, it sounds better in theory than in practice, since the two games function very differently, namely in how Puyos and Tetraminos drop, and how powerful some attacks can be while adding factors like margin time, which increase damage over time. While that sounds bad, playing the games individually is a treat for Puyo and Tetris fans alike, and while it doesn't have a Tetris DS load of game modes, there's enough to keep you occupied. As a bonus, the game has a story mode which, if you like nonsensical puzzle game stories, I'd recommend knocking yourself out with Puyo Puyo Tetris and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 stories. Oh, I probably should have mentioned that there is a second one. To keep it short, yes, there's a Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, but there's not much difference from the first aside for some features, the new story, and some new characters, which, did I mention, don't do anything? All around, the Puyo Puyo Tetris series is pretty good, and I should suggest giving it a go if you want to first start the Tetris games. For you Switch users out there, you can get Tetris 99 if you have a Nintendo Online membership. It's basically a Tetris Battle Royale following the Guideline Tetris rules and having its own neat quirks here and there. I think it's fun for a little while, but I'd prefer the other Tetris games over this one. But I don't entirely think it's a terrible game. Quite the contrary, actually. And I think the Battle Royale idea is pretty cool, especially for a game like Tetris. And I unironically think this game gets pretty intense in the later stages. Plus, they have some pretty neat events allowing you to unlock themes of different games like Kirby and Mario, which change the way the game looks and sounds. My personal favorite is the Game Boy Tetris theme, since it has the iconic look and theme of Tetris, including that nostalgia of the original game. Another good selection for a first Tetris game, and technically it's cheaper than Puyo Puyo Tetris since you only need Nintendo Online, and it's free. But if you want a more robust Tetris experience, Puyo Puyo Tetris is the better pick. And that was a small adventure into the wild world of Tetris. And believe me, I wish I could talk about all the good and bad Tetris games, but first off, that would tire the fuck out of me, and two, there's honestly way too many Tetris games to go over. And while some of them I love and then some of them I absolutely hate, the last thing to really answer is, how is Tetris nowadays? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's totally fine. The fans of Tetris resonate with the current games like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 and Tetris Effect so far right now. There's not much else to be desired yet for Tetris, and although Tetris is not as popular as it was back then, Tetris has left a huge mark on the gaming world, and maybe even the world of media itself. Is that it? Can I finally stop talking about Tetris? God, I just can't take it anymore. Tetris this, Tetris that. God, it's all Tetris. Everywhere I look, Tetris. Everything I eat, Tetris. What's next, huh? Is she Tetris? Is he Tetris? Am I Tetris? Oh shit.
Not a day goes by